Plato's Republic is the most famous work of philosophy ever written. It is also the most famous work of political philosophy ever written because the dialogue is a work of political philosophy. Yes, it deals with questions of epistemology and metaphysics. Yes, there are other philosophical concerns that run throughout the dialogue, but the central questions that are discussed, the spirit that moves the work from start to finish, are questions of political philosophy, the ideal regime, the confrontation with the problem of political sophistry. The Republic is about justice, because justice is the heart and soul of the question of what kind of city do we live in. You cannot have any work of political philosophy without that concern and question for the nature of justice. Do we live in a tyrannical city like the sophists are subtly peddling? Do we live in the just and peaceful and free city that Socrates is advocating? Why is Socrates advocating such a city if it is not the actual city we live in? In order to understand ourselves and the kind of city we want, we must first understand what kind of city, what kind of political society we currently live in. Plato rejects the idea that force is the governing reality of the cosmos, that force can be used to create the ideal city. Now, it's important for us to understand that Plato is not saying that force isn't a reality in our world, but he is rejecting that ancient, poetic, Hesiotic idea that force and war are the governing spirits, the governing realities of the cosmos. And of course, a certain sophist who advocates that position is Thrasymachus. And Socrates is going to deal with the problematic view that this leads if we accept it and what it means for a political society. Instead of force being the governing spirit and reality by which we live political lives, we must use reason and persuasion to build the ideal city. And this is revealed to us early on, and it's reiterated all throughout the Republic, when we first meet Socrates in Book 1, when he is stopped by a slave boy, and there is a tussle between force and persuasion. And here we get to see some of the genius of Plato in using foreshadowing to describe and set the stage and the framework for the entire dialogue. Well then, he said, either prove stronger than these men or stay here. Isn't there one other possibility, Socrates said? Are persuading you that you must let us go? So in this early encounter, we see the contest between strength and persuasion, the dialectical framework that is going to govern the whole of Plato's Republic. The opening sets the stage, therefore, for the entire dialogue. Reason and persuasion against strength and force. Strength and force are represented by the tyranny of the sophists. Reason and persuasion represented by the eloquence of Socrates. Reason and persuasion are what also lead to knowledge, to truth, to wisdom, and very importantly, to friendship, as revealed when Socrates becomes friends with Thrasymachus, and in how through the use of reason and persuasion, Socrates and all around him come to know the truth. Therefore, Plato is also saying this, and this is very important for us to understand when reading the Republic. The tyrannical and unjust city is built on force. But it is not just built on force, it is also built on lies. It is built on deceit. The just city, the free city, by contrast, is built on reason and persuasion. It is grounded in truth, wisdom, and friendship. Freedom is about reason and persuading, leading to knowledge and friendship. Tyranny is about force and manipulation. Tyranny is about deceit and lies. Tyranny, through its use of force and manipulation, deceit, and lies, also leads to death. In providing this template for the dialogue, Plato goes on to describe, through Socrates' interactions with the sophists, what kind of city these two different paths would lead to. What kind of city would the world of force and manipulation, as described by the sophists, lead to? We have the savage city of Thrasymachus, where the strong rule over the weak. This proceeds again into that city of deceit and death and murder, when Glaucon speaks of the ring of Gyges. The world in which the strong rule, deceit runs rampant, death is part of the normal course of politics. We fall then into the darkness of the cave. The cave is not just an epistemological allegory, as is commonly taught in most philosophy courses when reading this part of the Republic. It is most importantly and essentially an allegory of politics. The people in the cave are enslaved, ruled over by the deceits and lies of the shadows, denied entirely and completely the reality of human flourishing. Plato's chronological descent from the world of Thrasymachus and Glaucon to the world of the cave is a narrative of the decline and fall and tyranny of politics. When politics begins with the rule of force, as Thrasymachus argues, where the strong rule over the weak, and how this descends into the world of deceit and murder, the ring of Gyges, eventually such a world, such a political society, where the strong rule, deceit, and death run rampant, we end up in a world of slavery, a world of darkness, a world where liberty and human flourishing is completely denied to all but the elite, who rule over the enslaved in the cave, keeping them from the freedom of truth, the freedom that is human flourishing. Of course, there is also the escape from the tyrannical city by coming to know the truth about the cosmos, the nature of humanity, and our relationships with each other and the world. This is what Socrates is advocating in all of his dialogues with the various sophists. This is what Plato is advocating through the Socratic narrative within the Republic. This is the discovery of the sun. And finally, in the myth of air is revealed all the truths about the cosmos. He experiences and is in a relationship with the brilliant light of truth. But he does not remain there. He returns to the world of the living, so a new city built upon truth, justice, and liberty can be commenced. And this again is always told to us through the fact that Socrates doesn't abandon the city. He doesn't abandon his conversations with the sophists. Socrates is knee-deep in the political society in which he lives. He is dialoguing with the political rulers, the sophists of the city. He is showing them the truth. He is becoming friends with them so that they can journey together. The coming to know the truth of the cosmos, the coming to know the truth of humanity, the coming to know the truth about our relationship with each other as human beings and our relationship with the world leads us to the social reality of friendship and the proper understanding of politics. The Republic, of course, is doing many things, as any reader of the greatest of Plato's dialogues knows. Yet at its heart, it is a work of political philosophy. It is wrestling with the concepts of right and wrong, force and persuasion, reason and brute strength. The Republic is ultimately probing this very important question: what kind of city do we live in? A just and free city, or an unjust and tyrannical city? If we are living in an unjust and tyrannical city, how did we get there? Because in order to escape and to reform this unjust and tyrannical city, we need to know how we got there so as to not make the same mistake again. Plato argues that many political societies are ruled over by brute force, deceit, and lies, and how brute force, deceit, and lies leading to death is also what is leading to injustice and tyranny. And this is not merely the death of the body, but ultimately, and more terrifyingly, the death of the human soul. We must come to terms then, according to Plato, in the Republic, with this crisis. The crisis that the political societies we are living in are not what they often seem and claim to be. We must discover the truth of the cosmos, reorient our souls to this reality, and then begin building together as friends the city of light, where truth, justice, and human flourishing emerge as a result. Plato's Republic is ultimately a dialogue that is inviting us to question the very political societies in which we live. And in doing that, he is also asking us, how can we come to know the truth, the justice, and the liberty that human flourishing depends on?